For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
The first in a StratNewsGlobal series on the Sentinels of the Northeast along the India-Myanmar border in Arunachal Pradesh. Lieutenant General P.C. Nair, the Director General of the Assam Rifles, speaks exclusively to us in Jorhat. This is StratNewsGlobal. I am Amitabh. Revi. Our guest today, or should I say our host in Jorhat, is the Director General of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General P.C. Nair. General Nair, really appreciate you giving us time at such a busy time for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Viplav. Thank you for having me over.
We're just looking at the larger picture now, the role of the Assam Rifles, the wide-ranging role, which is border management, its development as well. Could you just enlighten us on that?
See, fundamentally, our roles are threefold. One is provide the security of the borders of our country. In this incident case, the Indo-Myanmar border, as also provide a sense of security to the people living in the border areas. The second is to prevent all kinds of trans-border crimes, whether smuggling, narcotics, movement of insurgents, movement of unwanted elements, such like. And the third is, of course, a restoration of breakdown of any law and order situation, like what has just happened in Manipur. So fundamentally, these are the three roles that are legislated for us as per the Assam Rifles Act. From these come the two basic duties that we do. One is the border guarding role along the 1643 kilometers of Indo-Myanmar border. And the second is a counter-insurgency role, which we are not only doing in the northeast, also we have 2 battalions in the Kashmir Valley now.
When you were talking about, say, a situation like Manipur, which is ongoing, now that itself highlights this wide-ranging role of the Assam Rifles, right?
True. Traditionally, people always thought of us as either indulging in border guarding or counter-insurgency. This is a role which we have been addressing in small measures, but this time it was a very big, unfortunate event that happened. And thankfully, because of the domain knowledge, the ground knowledge that we have here, our troops are extremely familiar with the terrain, with the people, with the ecosystem that exists here, which is why we were able to respond as fast as we could, and B, provide this sense of security amongst the people, and that's kind of helped in getting the situation to normalcy. As we're going forward, we're seeing things improving day by day.
Again, if you look at in terms of when you were talking about Myanmar, which is a large role that the Assam Rifles plays, explain to us the situation in terms of both COVID struck and then events across the border itself in terms of the coup. What changed? What is the situation along the Indo-Myanmar border?
Before coming to the Indo-Myanmar border as such, we need to look at what are the relations we share with this country. Sure. Besides us, they share borders with 4 other countries. And the friendliest border that they have is the Myanmar-India border, least amount of trouble. Which is the most trouble-prone areas for them is the China border. The border opposite Yunnan, where you have the Wa insurgents in a big way. So it's not just China, even the other borders, whether it's Thailand, Bangladesh, also there are disturbances. So traditionally, not just now, for years and decades together, this border for them, seen from their perspective, is the most peaceful. As a result of which, our relations with them have always been good, no matter which government is there at the helm. And we are continuing with that relationship that we have with them. So, how has it affected our relations? It is not really affected. But in times of COVID, yes, the free move regime which exists between both the countries almost came to a stop. And unfortunately, Myanmar at least the border areas, the part in their part of towards their country, that was more severely affected compared to us. But I think they've also gradually been able to get over it.
In terms of, again, insurgency, drug running, what exactly does the Assam Rifles have to do or has been doing?
Now, you asked a very interesting question, and this is very current. While insurgency, the role that we play is quite well known. Truly speaking, the violence levels, the insurgency levels have come down. But what has not come down is the level of smuggling that's happening. If I have to quote in terms of figures, this year we've already caught contraband worth 810 crores. The last year it was 870 crores. We are already there. But the year previous to that, 2021 was a huge. It was almost 1,600 crores worth of contraband that we caught. So let me again talk of 2021, where I said it was a huge. That year is a very benchmark year, in the sense that year also was when the other countries in this region recorded the highest catch of contraband. In Thailand, in Laos, in Cambodia, and of course in Myanmar. So why is it only in these countries that it has happened? It's anybody's guess. Is there an external player playing here?
General, what is the situation vis-a-vis illegal migration when we're talking about Myanmar?
What has happened is you had these large number of people coming in along the Indo-Myanmar border, largely in Mizoram, to a little extent in Manipur, and very less, hardly any in Nagaland. Now here it's a case of, again, a common ethnicity, as a consequence of which you have these people coming up in large numbers. And on the other side, the states which have been affected are Chin and Sagaing. Okay. Chin majorly, and Chin borders both Manipur, it also borders Mizoram, but large part of the border is with Mizoram. And the disturbed areas in Myanmar are bordering Mizoram. That is why a larger influx, in addition to the issue of ethnicity, which I said. So when you have all these refugees coming in such large numbers, there are associated problems. Now, along with these refugees who are coming in such large numbers, there is always that worry of insurgents also moving in, some illegal weapons coming in, and of course the larger issue of contrabands being smuggled in. While there is a humanitarian issue in this, surely, but going forward, we see if unless they go back, we will have problems in our hand.
General, when you say insurgency is on a downward slide, there have been some spikes, etc. But just looking at the events of late, Kolkata Sitwe port connectivity is being established. The Kaladan project was under threat at one point of time. In 2019, there was Operation Sunrise, I think. Your observations about those developments and connect them to now?
Operation Sunrise, both the Sunrise 1 and 2 were huge successes, particularly for us, the second, the Sunrise 2, because this was probably the first time when the militants got a beating in a very big way. And this may be one of the reasons why the insurgency levels have also gone down after that. Like I said earlier, in the last 8 to 10 years, the levels of insurgency violence have come down drastically. But it's not just insurgency that we have to be looking at. There are other issues also of ethnicity, of people identifying more with themselves. I see us not just looking at insurgency, but also tackling internal disturbances in a big way. When we say of insurgency levels going down, we are talking of our side in the northeast. But across in Myanmar, you are well aware that there are close to 35 major militant groups who are fighting the Myanmar army. So there, truly speaking, the violence levels haven't ebbed as much as it has here. But yes, today you have a different situation in Myanmar where there are other forces also which have risen. They're fighting the Myanmar army. What you also said about some of the factions like Arakan Army, etc., interfering in a Kaladan project, yes, that was the case. But today, somehow we've been able to overcome all that. You have the Situate port, at the Situate port, our minister, Honorable Minister, going very soon. So in times to come, this will not be a major hindrance. And the results will speak for themselves as we go ahead.
Just to flesh out that idea of yours now, if insurgency levels continue to look downwards, then what's the future role of the Assam Rifles?
Before looking into the future, you also need to look into what we did in the past. And let me restrict myself to what we did post-independence.
Sure.
Because we are a 188-year-old force, I'll not touch upon what we did in the world wars, etc. But after independence, in the 62 war, cutting across whichever valleys in Arunachal in the northeast, whether you start from Tawang, come to Subansiri, Siang, Siom, or even Lohit Valley. In all these valleys, the soldiers who bore the brunt of the Chinese offensive were the Assam Rifles, because we were at the absolute front. Which means we have been with the Indian Army fighting against the Chinese since the 60s. And then, of course, insurgency, when it started in the 1955, 56, there onward, we've been fighting shoulder to shoulder with the Indian Army. So going forward tomorrow, if there is a problem on the northern borders, we will be fighting alongside as well as we did earlier also. So that's a major role which I see in future.
Just looking at some specific events, incidents, and the lessons learned, General. Again, now the ambush of the 46th Battalion of Assam Rifles, and extremely horrific, with Colonel Viplav, Tripathi, his wife, minor son, and I think 4 other Assam Rifles personnel who were killed. What are the lessons that have been learned since then?
It was quite an unfortunate incident, and when it happened, it came as quite a shock for all of us. But if you ask me what are the lessons, the major lesson, I think, is we can never rule out that insurgency will totally stop here, or there will not be an external hand. I surely see an external hand in this. There was no reason for such an incident to happen in the first place, given that the people who indulged in this act were surely aware of the fact that there was this lady, there is this child who's traveling with the commanding officer. They had absolutely no reason to do this. Probably to the best of my knowledge, in my long years of service, I think this is the first time that such an incident has ever happened. Though there was some statements issued by the people who indulged in this that they were not aware of this. That's surely not the case. They would have known, and they would have done. So this is one lesson, I think a major takeaway for us, is insurgency cannot be ruled out overnight. There will be some sporadic incidents like this. And I attribute this that there is somebody else who has a role to play in this.
And again, talking about incidents, the Mon incident, mistaken identity and error of judgment, Assam Rifles had to face a lot of fallout after that. Now, again, if you want to shed any light on what has been learned from that.
Yeah, that was another unfortunate incident on the 4th of December 2021. It was surely a case of mistaken identity. But what I would want to bring to your notice is the fact that when this happened, there was a lot of coverage in the media saying that the security forces have set the time, the clock back, for all these years of peace, etc., have become redundant and such like. But I, heading the force, was very confident that our troops will be able to win the confidence of the people there, which is exactly what has happened. In fact, 6 months after the incident, in June 22 itself, the villagers of not just Oting, village where this incident happened, but complete Mon district. They started approaching us like friends before. And today you will be surprised to know in Oting, where this incident happened, we have an operating base also, a temporary operating base, which nobody would have ever imagined. And this operating base has not come at our request. It is at the behest of the people of that village. They wanted this post to be created. So for them to gain our confidence so fast speaks volumes about what our soldiers have been doing here.
General, again, when you talk about AFSPA and how over time it has evolved, it has been taken away from certain regions and areas, how do you see that moving on ahead, and how important or significant is its necessity?
Like you would agree, Amitabh, AFSPA by itself cannot be here endlessly. So surely its time will come when it has to be removed, and surely this cannot happen overnight. So when it was decided that AFSPA has to be taken off from certain places, it was a very conscious decision that was taken. There were a lot of soul searchings that was done, and we realized that there were places where the levels of violence had gone down very low. There was this huge confidence that the state police were showing that they could handle the situation. They didn't need us anymore. And it was a decision that has evolved by consensus, which is why the AFSPA was removed from those 16 police stations initially in Manipur and about as many in Nagaland. From then to now, nothing very major has happened in those areas. So we have this confidence that going ahead, gradually we shall be able to take this off from the other places also, as going forward when we have more and more peace and development happening in other places.
General Nair, again, like I said, really appreciate your time during, I know how busy you are and where all you need to be at this very moment. So appreciate your time and sharing all your experience with us.
Thank you, Amitabh. Thank you so much.
And to our viewers, do send us your feedback. You can, of course, follow our Telegram channel or other social media sites to get updates on when we put up articles on our website or interviews like this with the Director General of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General P.C. Nair. This is StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh Revi.
Stay tuned to StratNews Global for our series on the Sentinels of the Northeast, Assam Rifles. We travel along the India-Myanmar border in Arunachal Pradesh to the Pangsao Pass and to Vijayanagar near the Chaukan Pass.